So we're really excited today that we've hit a milestone of sorts with the lock in getting it onto the National Register, having being on the state register earlier this year. I think it's a nice marker. It's a good sign of forward motion, and I'll just end with that. So let me introduce Ray Smith from the State Office of Historic Preservation and Steve Thomasone, and Ray is here to do the official presentation and signifying the lock's listing. So
I would talk just very briefly about the National Register program and what it means to have a property listed in the National Register, and just give you a little bit of background about what this represents. We operate out of the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. Specifically, we're the Historic Preservation Field Services Bureau. We're based at Peebles Island in Waterford, if you know where that is. We are the State Historic Preservation Office. Every state in the Union has a State Historic Preservation Officer, and this allows the states to participate in the federal program. The legal mandate under which we operate is really a federal initiative that began with the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. And I say that enabled the states to participate in the nationwide program of identification, registration, protection of historic, architectural, archaeological, and engineering resources throughout the state. We also have a New York State Historic Preservation Law that kind of parallels the federal with a few differences, and that was enacted in 1980. Since 1968, our Bureau has been evaluating historic properties, identifying them, and working together with local historical agencies, local governments, and interested property owners to further preservation efforts throughout the state. What is the National Register? I guess the easiest way to define it is it can be called the nation's and the state's honor roll. It's the official list of the state and nation's properties that are deemed to be worthy of historic preservation. To qualify, a property must have integrity. It's got to basically embody the qualities that it had either at the time it was built or at the time it achieved significance. And these include integrity of location, design, setting, materials, workmanship, feeling, and association. I think we're in a location and a property that has all of those. So those were important considerations in looking at Lock 23 for consideration for the register. The property also must have a demonstrated measure of significance in history, architecture, archaeology, or engineering. And again, the case is very clear that this Lock 23 embodies a very important role in the history of the development of the Erie Canal and the state of New York. The state and national registers include historic districts, buildings, structures, objects, and sites. To be listed, a property must be more than 50 years old and embody one of the 4 National Register criteria. What are the effects of listing in the National Register? Certainly there's a promotion of community places, and it's a way to attract interest in your community and its historic resources. Properties also receive a measure of protection from state or federal agency actions that might be affecting them. If there were to be a highway widening or something of that nature, the fact that this property is listed in the state and national registers would need to be taken into account as part of the environmental planning process for that project. Just like we consider fish and wildlife and wetlands, the importance of cultural resources is taken in as part of the environmental planning process as well. For municipalities and not-for-profit organizations, listing a property in the National Register enables the owners to apply for up to 50% matching grants through federal and state matching grant programs. Particularly at the moment, we have the Environmental Protection Fund in New York State, which has assisted many historic preservation-related projects sponsored by local governments and not-for-profits. Okay, I'm going to just briefly encapsulate the significance of what Lock 23 represents and why it was deemed worthy of listing. This is from the Statement of Significance in the National Register documentation, which we compiled and Double lock number 23 is significant as a distinguished example of masonry engineering design and construction associated with the transportation history of the old Erie Canal. Built as a replacement for a single-chambered Lock 26 of the original Erie Canal, Clinton's Ditch. A large double lock 23 was constructed with 2 chambers in 1841-1842 during the first enlargement period of canal renovation. Additional capacity was achieved when the southwestern lock chamber was extended in length in 1889-1890. Constructed of massive, finely cut and fitted limestone blocks, the large double lock 23 embodies the high levels of precision and masonry craft practice characteristic of Erie Canal construction during the period of significance. The historic modifications to Lock 23 over time reflect the evolution of the old Erie Canal from the first enlargement to its replacement by the New York State Barge Canal in 1918. Reclaimed and stabilized by local volunteers beginning in 1999, Lock number 23 remains an important historic engineering landmark in Schenectady County. In listing this Lock 23 in the National Register, this becomes one of only 3 properties in the town of Rotterdam that are currently listed. The others are the Delamont Wemple Farm and the Baby House. So this is only the 3rd property in the town of Rotterdam that has achieved this honor. Throughout New York State, there are over 4,000 listings, but many of those are historic districts that include hundreds and in some cases thousands of buildings. So there are probably about 71,000 individual properties throughout the state that are listed in the state national register. Before I present the certificate for listing, I just want to acknowledge the work of all the local volunteers and the Union College students and Professor Morris and his predecessors who really saw what was here and recognized it and mustered the forces, and also certainly the town of Rotterdam for its role in preserving and continuing to preserve and enhance this really important community resource. I'd like to present the certificate to Supervisor Tomasone. This is to certify that enlarged Lock number 23, Old Erie Canal, Rotterdam vicinity, Schenectady County, New York, in recognition of its significance in American history and culture, was listed in the State Register of Historic Places on December 28, 2007, and in the National Register on March 6, 2008. It was signed by Carol Ash, Commissioner, Office of Parks and Recreation, who is also the State Historic Preservation Officer. Congratulations.
On behalf of the town, I'd like to just say something briefly. Thank you, Ray, for coming out here today. We have a beautiful day, thank God, to celebrate this occasion. And I want to thank Andy Morris from Union College, President Dave Ray, who's here, represents our Rotterdam Sunrise Rotary, all the volunteers from Union College and the Schenectady County Historical Society, and President Ed Riley is here today. Without all of these people, this would not be possible. The town is the owner, but everyone here is the lifeblood of this project. And as we continue on, I'm hopeful that Rotterdam will continue to do a lot with the Historical Society. Union College, our now Rotary, is very dedicated to preservation and our environment, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do much more here in Rotterdam. I was speaking earlier to Ray and telling him that we really would like to do more along Skemmerhorn Road, and there are some opportunities that are going to present themselves for the future of the town. And our environment and our history is very, very important here in Rotterdam, and I'm hopeful that we'll continue to have people involved in our local organizations, and in particular our Historical Society and our local college, the colleges between Union College and perhaps even the future of the county community college, and come out here and continue to help us not just in Rotterdam but in the entire county, and preserve what history has given us, and what the hard work. I mean, you can't imagine. I just can't imagine the labor involved to do what they did here building the canal.
You can imagine you were doing it too.
Well, I was just clearing brush. I was not here moving blocks yet. I did that for my father when I was a little younger. My dad's a mason, so I did a lot of that work. Let me tell you, I still have the scars to prove that. But you know, we have our wells are right here for the town of Rotterdam. So this area, preserving it and ensuring that man doesn't intrude too much here is important to us for the quality of our water. So thanks to all of you for all that you've done. I really appreciate very much the honor, and thank you to the state of New York and the federal government for bestowing us with this honor. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Steve.